Hi everybody. Excuse the outfit. It's the weekend. I did my Jackdaw on When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant. I loved this book. It reminded me of my family. It's about a little girl that lives in the Appalachian Mountains with her grandparents. It's a Caldecott winner, so definitely a good book. Check it out. So we'll get right to it. I chose a wash tub. It's an old wash tub. She talks about in the book her grandmother heating water over the stove and putting it in the wash tub, and all the kids had to get baths in it. So, luckily, I had one. Okay. In the book, she talks about her grandmother made pinto beans and fried okra and cornbread. So, I put beans in my Jackdaw so everybody can see those. Definitely a staple in the mountains. Hold on to those. They never go bad. So the kids can pass those around and look at those. That is a meal that we had quite often when I went to my grandfather's house. And so they sit down and they have dinner, and she eats so much fried okra that she gets a bellyache in the middle of the night. And they lived in the mountains and did not have indoor plumbing. So her grandmother had to walk her out to, see if I can get this in here, had to walk her out to the outhouse. And this is my little outhouse. I keep it in my garden. I had to walk her out there in the middle of the night, which is really not as much fun as you would think. So they talked about going to buy the things they needed at the store. And so I brought this scale. This is what they used in the stores to weigh their sugar and flour and their dry goods that Mr. and Mrs. Crawford had. So there's that, and let me put it here. She also talked about at nights they would sit on the porch and they would rock in the rocking chair, and her grandmother would help her braid her hair, and her grandfather would sharpen her pencils for her. So I brought this in. It's a real, I guess, wooden pencil. They're all wooden, but this one is from a branch, probably a little closer to what she would have had. So I have that one to pass around for everyone to look at. Everyone, her grandfather in the story is always wearing coveralls. So I brought those in. I would be shocked if there's no kids that know what coveralls are, but my kids live in them. They wore these because they were easy. They were durable. They lasted forever, and they were good work clothes in the mountains. So brought those in, and she talks about how they would go out and play, and then they would come back in, and her grandmother would make her cocoa over the coal stove. So I brought this in. They didn't have Swiss Miss then, unfortunately. So they probably had something closer to this and maybe added some sugar into it for the kids. She said in her yard, her grandmother would tend to her chickens, and there would be a snake in the yard, and her grandmother would always try to kill it with the hoe. So I have that as well. And the kids got to actually catch one of the snakes, and they draped it around their neck, and they got a picture taken. I'm going to guess that was a pretty big deal. They didn't normally take pictures a whole lot unless you were wealthy and had a lot of money to own a camera. You probably didn't have a whole lot of pictures. So that she talks about that, and it was probably a really special moment for her that they got a picture to remind them. I also brought these two figurines. This has been in my family a long time. It's an old man and an old woman, and they really reminded me of Mr. and Mrs. Crawford. Although these two are just sitting on benches, they look a lot like what I think the shop owners would look like. And then one more, let me grab it. This is my last one. It is an old lantern. They didn't have electricity in the mountains, so this is what they had. They would light this in all the rooms. It's in the book a lot. There's lots of pictures of different types of lanterns. So this one is my favorite. So I brought this one out, and this is one that we've had for a long time. That may or may not have been my grandparents. I'm not sure. So all of these things kind of represent their life in the mountains. It's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've spent a lot of time listening to my own mother's stories about her life in the mountains, and her grandfather was a coal miner, her father was a coal miner, so that's kind of the theme in this book. So all these items kind of represent their life that they lived there. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.